Now, there's some DEXA
Okay.
centers that are what they offer what are called DEXA Fit software. The benefit is if you go to a DEXA facility that also has the DEXA Fit software, it means that you can download the DEXA Fit app and the results will come onto your phone. Otherwise, you just end
Okay.
up with a PDF file. So anyhow, just Google the nearest DEXA Fit center near your home. The scans are about $100 depending on the facility. It's a 7-minute
Okay.
head-to-toe scan, and it gives you the most detailed breakdown of body composition. And then it's really motivational to see every 6 months you do another scan. So you want to look at how much of your body is fat. Okay, so if I'm 200 pounds, how much of that 200 pounds is fat, muscle, or bone? So it gives you that breakdown. It also gives you how much fat is in the visceral adipose tissue, the organ fat, basically. It has the ability
Yes.
to precisely measure the organ fat, and it'll show you how much organ fat you have. This is the inflammatory fat with like fatty liver and other conditions of that
That's why
nature.
I love your dashboard because I track people's liver function tests, LFTs, AST, and ALT. And what I'll see when we go through our gut protocols, because we're healing the gut, which the blood flow from the gut goes over the portal vein to the liver, we always see fatty liver. And our functional ranges, which we can manipulate on your dashboard, I love.
Yep.
For men under 15 is ideal for AST, ALT. Nobody is under 15 because of fungal overgrowth, candida, mold, SIBO, bacterial overgrowths. And for women, it's supposed to be below 12. And also, we track immunogenicity. White blood cell count should be 5 to 7. Nobody is in that ideal range because of all the things that have been going on, and fungal overgrowths and viral overgrowths and SIBO with people. And what I love is when we can get these dialed in, these all naturally come down. And having akkermansia, having bifido, studies show over and over this consortium of flora will actually naturally improve lymphocytes, white blood cells. So we'll see in our clients quickly within 2 months or 3 months or less, normalization of their WBC white blood cell count to 5 to 7.
Awesome. Yeah.
And now with Ozempic and other meds, it's even faster. And then we'll see normalization of their liver function tests to below 12 for women, below 15 for men for AST, ALT. And this is a green zone. We celebrate these. These are silent indicators because people don't realize this is a great success. They're not on track for losing their liver or getting pancreatitis or having other inflammatory
conditions. And also
their
like hemoglobin A1C gets better.
Disease.
Their fasting insulin gets better. I ran my blood work before and after my GLP-1s, okay? And yes, I got some nice fat loss gains, and I got some nice lean mass gains, but I also looked at all my lipid numbers.
8 pounds
I gained 8 pounds of lean mass while I was on the GLP, and so it was really positive body comp. Now, I was also taking CJC 1295 and ipamorelin to not only preserve lean mass, but build lean mass while I was on the GLP-1 and I was doing strength training. So the body composition changes were phenomenal. And all of my blood work, all my cholesterol numbers, I have them all going back to 2005. I had lipid numbers that were like better than when I was 25, like my cholesterol, HDL, LDL, my insulin, fasting insulin was like 2. My hemoglobin A1C was 4.9. So like every lab test I ran before and after. So there's lots of improvements. It's not just the fat. That's obviously a huge part of it. But I'm just kind of like agreeing with what you're saying. All these other lab markers improve. And that, wow, when you can
it's not
show
like
people
you just
that.
look, it's not just you look and feel shredded, but it's about all the silent mediators of inflammation that we want to kind of look at because they're going to impact our longevity. Yeah, so
Agreed.
Important.
Yeah, so
plus you
seeing
just look
all this information,
stripped and awesome, Dave.
You got to keep it sexy, Grace, out there. So like that's just part of it. Especially for us single people, right? So like that part of it is fun. I love working on body composition. For me, body composition, the way you regulate your body is to me a form of self-mastery. And it requires you to have mastery over your impulse control in terms of how you eat. It requires you to have mastery over how you sleep at night. And do you have a healthy circadian rhythm? It requires you to have mastery over your stress. All of these things trace back to your body composition. It's a it's a way to practice self-mastery, in my opinion, because it's such a reflection of how you live your life. So for me, it's actually a fun challenge that I'm always working on. And you always unlock new levels in the game. Right now we have these new tools at our disposal, and like, okay, there's another level to unlock. So for me, it's just a never ending video game of like, how do I figure out the algorithm that is my body and then learn how to master it? It's fun.
It's super fun. I agree. It's really fun. During this conference or webinar, I'm also going to go over my 7 favorite anabolic hacks. I call them the Mojo 7. I was calling it the Sexy 7, but yeah, they're
You
all
have
sexy.
the greatest names, Grace, for your products. Mojo, Dragon. There's always something clever that comes up. So I'm curious to see what you've got in store for the Mojo. What did you call it? The Mojo 7?
Yeah, Dragon Mojo. Yeah,
Dragon
Mojo 7, because it's also our
Mojo
microbiome
7.
Mojo. Yeah, it's got
Yep.
our bifidobacterial lactis. We can't grow Akkermansia. See, everyone's got Akkermansia, but it's just not like a high enough level. And studies show actually if we have too much, that's a sign of poor health, actually, because it's only high when there's inflammatory states like MS or colitis, exacerbation, cancer.
So what test
cancer.
are you using to measure that, Grace?
Bifidobacterial lactis.
No, Akkermansia. Which test gives you indications of that level?
Okay. So we have a variety of tests. I love the Vibrant Gut Zoomer. We also have GI Map and GI FX from Genova Diagnostics. All 3 of them will check it and use either qPCR or 16S technology. Oh, they always use 2nd generation. It's hard to detect it because it's anaerobic. A little molecule of oxygen will kill it. So you have to use genetics to identify it. And we have clients also use Akkermansia probiotics, but they don't work. They don't notice any improvements half the time, and it's not really changing their microbiome sometimes, often half the time. And studies are starting to show actually it's because you need the consortium. It has to have its allies there, its friends. It needs to have Bifidobacteria longum and Bifidobacteria lactis. And there's very few products on the market except for our like microbiome Mojo, which has a high enough concentration. And we have people do a reset protocol. It's pretty much like an FMT, a microbiota transplant almost, because we get a high enough dose. You've done it several times.
Well, I have the Akkermansia.
Yeah, you got to get up
I ran out of your Bifido because you had a shortage of the capsules there for a while. So I have to get that back into my rotation. So that plus the Akkermansia, and then I have just kind of an all-purpose probiotic I take as well. So I have like 3 that I normally roll with.
Yeah, some people, they're missing a big chunk of their gut. It's like a bankruptcy in their gut. And so they don't see all the changes they need to or want to. And that's called Clostridioides. These are butyrate-making bacteria. So there's a couple sources on the market. I'll go over them in the course as well. But we sell Equilibrium. It's got some U bacteria. And we always, hear people, they have an internal study as well. People get happy. They feel happy taking it because it's shifting the gut microbiome and growing the butyrate makers. And there's also a product that has Akkermansia in it. It's called PGC, Pendulum Glucose Control. It also has some butyrate producers, primarily Clostridium butyricum. And then there's also the old school. It's from Canada, actually. I think it's where you're from. It's AOR3 probiotic. It's got Clostridium butyricum in there. And then in Japan, there's a variety of products. They have Clostridium butyricum, but often they have dairy. So we don't, because of dairy allergies, we don't promote those all the time. But yeah, there's a lot of products that have that. So we want all 3. Those are the main ones that are shown to be very important for longevity. Centenarians have rich abundance of these species, the ABCs, Akkermansia, Bifidolactis, and longum, and butyrate makers, Roseburia, Faecalibacterium, Clostridiums. These are all really key for longevity. And when they're bankrupt, the gut can't do what it needs to. It's like the puzzles are missing, the codes and locks are broken. But we can get them in, and usually only takes like 2 months or less. And then we feed them. So like one of my hacks for an anabolic hack for satiety is to do a bionic fiber shake every morning within 30 minutes of waking up, and then pair it with some protein.
I love it.
Stripping Yeah, for stripping body fat, you really it's hard for me. I don't like cooking because I live alone. I don't cook all that much, but you need to get in 1 gram per pound of protein.
Yep.
And particularly within 30 minutes of waking, that sends signals, abundant signals to our body that, oh, hey, plenty of satiety, plenty of ways for pathways of satiety to go on because there's signals of abundance. I don't need to try to starve and hold my adipose under lock and key and, hold it hostage and not liberate fat easily.
Let it
And
go.
I love the GLP-1.
Let it flow.
Yeah, GIP agonists. Yeah, because they allow the fatty acids not to keep feeding into the adipose. They would just like stop it. And that allows the outflow. That's why people do lose so much weight with these. These were first characterized because they work on the hypothalamus, and these meds, GLP-1 agonists, work particularly on the hypothalamus, and they saw that it improved cognition and hypothalamus function, as well as it started to reverse dementia. So
Fantastic.
These were the first studies, and that's why it's so great to work with people if they might have emotional eating issues or other behavioral issues and habits. When we're under stress, we develop these patterns until we kind of self-hack these, and do trauma release and different modalities like yoga nidra and other ways to kind of, release the trauma that gets stuck in the body and the gut and the vagal nerve. Yeah, so they're
You never took my
tool.
yoga nidra class, Grace, by the way.
I know, but I did take your Kundalini class couple times.
All right. Well,
I need to
anytime
do
you
more
want
of that.
a nidra class, a yoga nidra class, I'm available. I can do it on Zoom. I'm pretty good at teaching yoga nidra. I was teaching that in at the studio in Las Vegas, and it's a really, really beautiful practice. There's also just like great recordings you can listen to, and the cool thing about yoga nidra is like you get into this state where your whole body is sleeping. Like I'm actually snoring, but I'm conscious. So like I can still process instruction and intention. I'm lucid, so I know what's going on, but my body's asleep and I'm snoring. It's a really, really trippy feeling. So anyhow, I'm bummed I didn't get to have you in my nidra class, but if you ever want to do one, I would be happy to lead one. And then
that's a great
just to add to
offering. Thank you, Dave.
Anytime, Grace. Just to add to what you're saying is like you have to get out there and exercise. You have to do cardiovascular training. If you want to do body recomposition, you need to do resistance training, cardiovascular training, making sure that you're spending time outdoors in natural sun, making sure that your aura ring numbers look good. So like when you really put all those pieces together and you teach people holistic weight loss, that's, I think, the most powerful thing. So I'm excited to see what you're going to teach, all the clinical pearls, and I'm going to be there to show people how they can help their patients see the results in front of their eyes and learn how to make and monitor holistic lifestyle changes.